So let's jump right into it today. So we've got this guy. Now we're going to talk about this guy a lot today, like a lot. But this guy is known as Brennan Kim. Now, I think the first thing we've got to do is show the video. So this video came out today. It's hardly been viewed at all. And I look at this video like the Niji Sanji black screen video of the Johnny Somali disaster. This is like Riku coming out and speaking after everything that's been fucked up. And not only did this not make it better, this actually makes it way worse. And this actually brings someone and people and actually an entire family into this that shouldn't have been involved in the first place. So let's just be clear. This guy, Brennan Kim, who's allegedly an American. Now, he claims to be Nigerian. I'm not sure whether he is Nigerian or not Nigerian. I don't know. I didn't do a 23andMe on this guy. He's got a wife and a kid, a Korean wife and a kid in Korea. He's been here for at least a couple years. And he's got an interesting past, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But this was like a fucking hostage video. And it's actually, it looks like he was reading off some sort of script or something else right there. So we're going to get into that. But this guy has been aiding Johnny Somali. He is one of Johnny Somali's accomplices. And we're going to talk about that as we go here. And the amount of trouble he's gotten in for this aid of Johnny Somali. So to be very clear, this is the guy that drove Johnny Somali to the statue in Dobongu, which is northern Seoul near Gyeonggi, and drove him there to do an apology. Once again, this is the apology that everybody thought was fake. And by the way, this is the MMA fighter dude. We're going to talk about this today. We're going to talk about this this speech he gave here, exposing the truth of Johnny Somali. And almost nobody has viewed this video because this was put out on his girlfriend's channel, which has like 14 subscribers. So like a dozen people have seen this. And it's only because of the good work of people that are really following channels covering this, that this has gotten out here. And this is on my channel, which now has about 1,000 people and will get, 50, 60,000 views just on my channel by the time it's done. And then on other channels, on Korean channels, we'll get hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of views as it's passed around the internet. So thankfully, we can get this information out there and get a good analysis of this, and especially an analysis of his lies, of his misinformation, so that the good information gets out there, not the bad information. So we're going to watch this video here, and this is him with a 10-minute video, which I'm going to be pausing and analyzing.
Hello, everyone. I would like to talk about the situation that happened at the conformance statue, and I would like to address everything that led up to that event.
That was the weakest bow ever. Like, even for a person who's a foreigner, like, don't do it if you don't at all know how to do it. But that was a very weak bow there.
I was filled with anger as I learned about the atrocities committed by Somali. I even thought about finding him and giving him the punishment he deserved.
Okay, so let's start out. He was angry. He thought about fighting him. He didn't do that. Instead, all he did was play internet tough guy and then end up helping him out. Right?
It wasn't just me. Many Koreans were looking for him. My wife and I devised a plan to catch Somali. To lure him out, we sent a message offering to get him a lawyer and meet up.
So already, just be clear, they committed a crime. So their wise plan was to commit a crime to solve the issue over here and trick him and get him to come out and expose himself for what? Right? For what? For clout? Like, this is what doesn't make sense to me, is what was the initial impetus? Were you going to beat him up? Because it sounds like you initially threatened him, but you weren't going to do that. So you're trying to lure him out in order to what? And originally, mind you, this is before he was trying to do this and talk to him before he actually contacted the YouTubers, the Korean YouTubers. So to me, this doesn't add up. This whole genesis of the plan, like the reasoning behind this, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm trying to make this make sense. It doesn't make sense to me.
He stayed up all night, monitoring every broadcast, browsing his Twitter, watching Somali closely, pressing him by contacting him and pretending to be on his side with sickening deception. Over several days, we exchanged messages, and Somali showed extreme fear, only worrying about the legal consequences he would face. Seeing his vulnerable.
See, okay. So I love how he's making the assumption that somebody and what they say online is related to what they actually feel or are thinking or doing. Maybe he's playing a part because he knows he has to play the part of being fearful when he's actually cocky, when he's actually arrogant, when he's actually smug. Because we know from watching that apology, he was arrogant, he was smug, he was cocky. I mean, that's the thing that really came off to people as disingenuous. So understand that this guy is clearly missing. It was clearly missing a lot going on here with Somali, and clearly shouldn't have been involved from the get-go, from the jump. So I'm not buying this story that he's giving about why he got involved and how he got involved and why he went that far. And here's the other thing too. This man has a family. If you have a family and you're going to put your family at risk of national exposure and national scrutiny, you are a fucking shame of a man. To put your family at risk for what? For clout? Why? Why?
Side and attempts to around us brought us a feeling of guilt for receiving him. At times, I felt the pain of sympathy and pity for him as a human being. He was in a difficult situation, in a very legal situation at that.
So I get he's doing this whole I felt pain for him as a human being. Let me be very clear. What Johnny Somali did in Korea and what he's done in Japan and what he's done in other countries is unforgivable. And he's done so with zero remorse. Okay? What these people, these nuisance streamers are doing is unforgivable. It needs criminal punishment because these people are beyond mere forgiveness and human emotion. They are playing with you, they're fucking with you, and you are too emotionally weak and ignorant to just fall for it. You were naive to fall for it. You're a fool, an absolute fool. Because if somebody does something that unforgivable, you cannot all of a sudden start changing your tune about them because they're crying a sob story. You clearly didn't know enough about this, but that's if we're giving you the benefit of the doubt that you didn't know about Somali's history in Japan, which he's about to say. I know I'm spoiling a little bit, but I don't think he's telling the truth that he didn't know about him in Japan based on his anger and also based on the fact that he's in his Discord. That's right. This man is in Johnny Somali's Discord. We're gonna talk about that. I'm gonna expose that in a second. But yeah, Ramsey Khalid Ishmael, aka Johnny Somali.
I used that against him by pretending to help, which left me with a sense of guilt and regret. To make an excuse, I think it wasn't because we were foolish, but because unlike a psychopath like Somali, we have normal human emotions. Perhaps because I'm human, the constant lying, regardless of its reason or purpose, brought about feelings of guilt.
This is so much bullshit. If you were devising a plan that you were incapable of executing, what do you want people to say? Do you want people to forgive you for that? You're like, we came up with a plan, but we were too emotionally weak to execute our own plan. Are you fucking kidding me? What this reeks of is he's reading a script or he's trying to say something that he knows will get him out of trouble because now he, his wife, his child are under scrutiny. And by the way, people are digging into his background. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get that. It sounds like damage control more than anything else. It doesn't make sense.
However, It wasn't just lies. I even advised him to upload an apology video and apologize sincerely, but Somali refused to. So I had no choice but to continue lying. He was only afraid of the legal consequences he would face. He showed no awareness of his own wrongdoing. He seemed to lack any human emotions that a known person would have, such as guilt, remorse, or empathy. I went beyond anger and disgust, feeling a sort of sorrow of how someone can end up with such a character, devoid of compassion, empathy, or guilt, or even the capacity for reflection. I even felt pity for him for lacking these basic human emotions. But now that I think about it, I find myself laughable. Who am I to feel sympathy or pity for someone like that?
That was a cut on their end.
I constantly steel myself.
Sorry, so that cut was on their end. So they probably had a weird moment there, so they cut that out of the apology.
Each time complicated emotions arose and I wanted to stop, I would look at his videos, reminding myself of his true nature, and resolve to keep deceiving him, convinced that he had to be brought to justice. I questioned myself, wondering if I would have been so lenient had someone in my family has been his victim. I kept pushing myself, telling myself that while everyone deserves a chance for repentance and forgiveness, decisive measures are necessary for those who are not prepared to accept that chance.
So this is him trying to cope here. He's trying to say, my emotions were complicated. He's literally sounding like a lover who's like an accomplice for a crime. He's admitting that he fucked up, right? And I get that, like, look, saying you're sorry is important. I get that, but you shouldn't have been in this in the first place, and you dragged your wife and your child into this. And that is absolutely something that you need to understand was a giant fuck up.
In any case, we finally managed to arrange with him through deception. With intense emotions, I reached out to Mr. Yu Dagun, a former UDT member who had previously confronted him.
That's the SEAL who beat the shit out of Johnny Somali with one punch. He could have killed him, by the way. This guy is a trained Korean SEAL. He could have killed him. Going with the punch was light, right? It was light. Just to be clear.
Given the seriousness of the current situation, while my personal feelings and choices were significant, I also felt it was essential to contact other Koreans who have been seeking to bring him to justice before us. We held a meeting with them. After the discussion, we agreed to handle the matter as peacefully as possible. As individuals, we couldn't ignore the reality of the situation. We had to consider both retribution and the legal consequences he would face. The fact that we lured him with, we couldn't ignore the reality of the situation. We had to consider both retribution and the legal consequences he would face. The fact that we lured him with lies already bordered on adoption.
No, it actually is. It's like in the U.S., it would be false pretenses. So in the U.S., what he did would already be a crime. So him and his wife already, at least in the U.S., committed a crime. Now, I'm no Korean lawyer. I'm just a simple Florida boy. So I'm not going to say whether it's against Korean law, but what I'm saying is if Korean law has similar things, then yeah, it's come pretty close. It's come pretty close because you've lied to somebody and got them to do something, if that's true. And if you're not just Johnny's buddy who's trying to help him out, because there's an alternative narrative here that he was actually not trying to trick Johnny, but actually he's Johnny's buddy. And we'll go into that in a second.
Kidnapping, threats, and assault were serious legal issues we couldn't ignore. Thus, we ultimately decided to push for a public apology. However, this wasn't the end of the conversation. If he refused to apologize, we were prepared to leave him half dead. That was the direction of our meeting. We did.
I don't believe that for 2 seconds. I don't believe that this guy was prepared to leave this guy half dead. Okay. I think that he talks a big fucking game, but first of all, he's got a wife and kids. He can't go around in Korea. If this guy, an American, goes around beating people half to death, he's going home.
And expect him to apologize so easily. To excuse ourselves, we were all young and accustomed to situations like this. Moreover, we haven't properly investigated his past transgressions after his previous apologies in Japan. Despite our intentions,
so they're saying they didn't do due diligence on this guy. So they were getting involved with him without doing due diligence, with zero due diligence. That's irresponsible. You were getting involved with Johnny Somali, a national issue, without doing any research on him. First of all, I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that for 1 second. But that's if it's true. So either you're lying, which I think is the case, or you're an idiot. And either way, it's not good.
Blading of him in a car discussing the Comfort Woman statue and apology, which is mistakenly believed to be on his way to apologize. This is incorrect. That scene was from after the apology, where we were giving him a ride home, and we went live to update viewers on the current situation. Foolishly, we truly believe that he had completed his apology and genuinely reflected on his actions. At the time I was driving, and my wife was looking forward as well, we didn't notice him in the back flashing a peace sign with mocking expression. We had deceived him into coming under the pretense of meeting with the lawyer, which he believed, and he followed us for that reason. However, we actually took him to meet the YouTubers who had been seeking him. We had requested that Hank bring Somali with him. However, Hank informed us that Somali was not with him. In fact, Somali was more than 10 kilometers away. They didn't disclose their location, but on the appointed day, Hank will get into our car, reveal Somali's address, and then we will go together to pick up Somali and take him to the lawyer. On the day we were supposed to meet, we went to the basement parking lot of Hank's home and picked him up in our car. Hank then revealed Somali's address, which turned out to be in Gyeonggi-do, not Seoul. Nobody had known this.
Okay, Gyeonggi-do is not that far from Seoul. It's the province north of Seoul, so it's not like he's hiding in like North Korea, guys. Like he's heading a little bit north. He's in like the suburbs, okay? So like it's not that big of a deal. And it's not like he makes him sound like he's some master person. And by the way, after this man Brennan brags about knowing where Somali lives. So understand he's going to go on to gloat about knowing where Somali lives afterwards. So let's keep that in mind. Keep that in mind.
Everyone assumed that Somali was still in Seoul. Hank had hidden him well. We took Hank and headed to where Somali was staying. When we finally met Somali, he was much smaller and more frail than he appeared in his videos. His face was covered in bruises with shiny ointment applied over his injuries. He got into the car looking every bit like a criminal. Afraid he might try to escape, we acted incredibly friendly towards him, even buying him a cup of coffee. When we handed it to him, he kept saying, thank you, like he hadn't eaten in days. Inside the car,
once again, what are you trying to make? This guy is trying to make us feel sympathy for Johnny Somali. Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to sell this sympathy story? Like, oh, he's a poor boy. He looked like he hadn't eaten in days. He's a frail little manlet. He's a baby of a man. And he's looking at a script. Clearly, he's reading a script. This is a fake thing. You can see him looking to the left, right? So, to me, if Somali hasn't eaten and he's afraid, he should be afraid. He should be very afraid for what he did. Very afraid. And it's justified to be afraid for what he did because he did something that is near unforgivable.
He wore a pitiful expression, continually to thank us for helping him, which gave me a pain of guilt. I don't think this was because I was foolish. It's because I have normal human emotions. For a regular person, it's natural to feel nervous or guilty about lying to someone directly, regardless of the reason. Am I right? At that moment, my heart softened. I thought there was no need to suppress my sympathy while remembering Somali's true character. So even when he made that foolish apology, I tried to show him peace and kindness.
But he's not acknowledging the fact that the apology was fake as hell. And everybody who's analyzed that, everybody who's looked at that and analyzed that and really understood the words in English, everyone who's analyzed that has said it was inauthentic. It doesn't take a body language master to know that that was a bullshit apology. And what he was saying, remember what he was saying. He's like, I'm sorry I hurt your pride, Koreans. He didn't apologize. He didn't actually say sorry. I'm sorry I hurt your pride. That's not the same thing. That's like, I'm sorry that you feel that way, right? I'm sorry you feel that way doesn't mean you actually feel bad.
I don't know why I did that. Because of that foolishness, I'm now globally condemned. I really wish I could turn back time. Looking back, I feel remorse for stepping up to try to extract the apology, thinking that I, with my naive and fragile mentality, could handle it.
I mean, I believe that you're fragile. I don't believe that he was that naive. He's playing himself off to be a know nothing. I don't think that's true. And we kind of have proof of this. We have proof that he's not as innocent. So he put this up hours ago, but we have a statement from before this that shows exactly how much he knows.
I have no excuses. I was unqualified for this type of thing, naive about the ways of the world, emotionally weak, and not particularly clever. I got involved without knowing anything. I was arrogant, and now I regret it deeply. I also regret letting him go like that and showing him sympathy, believing he might reform. In the end, I was deceived as well. Currently, Koreans...
He's trying to make himself into a victim. You're not a victim here, bro. Stop with that. You're complicit.
Are still trying to track him down. The critical issue here is that Korea does not permit.
And here's the thing. Koreans are trying to track him down, and guess who knows his location? Guess who knows his location and is hiding him? This man. This man knows his location and is hiding him. Is actively hiding him. And he's trying to get sympathy?
Permit private punishment. Anyone who tries to punish Somali through physical means will be charged with assault under the law. Those who are currently...
That's a job for the law. See, this motherfucker is trying... Sorry. And once again, I don't mean to be vulgar, and I know I have a lot of like new viewers. And once again, this just makes me angry. It makes me really angry, okay? That this guy is on this moral high horse. He said he was naive, but he's still arrogant in thinking that he's the one who gets to dictate what people should and shouldn't do. He's like, well, yeah, people shouldn't take justice in their own hands. Well, that's for them to decide, not you, right? If they want to commit assault, they need to be prepared to face the legal consequences, but that's for them to decide, not you, right? You don't get to control the actions of other folks, and you shouldn't. If they want to go to jail for this and they think it's worthwhile, that's their call. There may be somebody out there that's like, you know what? This is worth going to jail over. I think the UDT guy, the SEAL, now, once again, I haven't spoken to him, but I think that he might have thought, you know what? This is worth it. Right? He might have thought, you know what? It's worth it punching this guy out.
Pursuing him for retribution are mostly under investigation for assault and stalking offenses.
So now they're calling out the YouTubers. They're saying the YouTubers are under investigation for assault and stalking. Well, you know what? That's on them, right? And they're going to have to answer for that. But I think a lot of them are going to say, you know what? It was worth it. All right. So there's a little bit more information here. So I've both got Johnny's crimes. Now, I will say this. And let me show this one. So 2 things about Brennan. Number 1, it appears he knew. And let me show you why it looks like he knew. This is from Johnny's Discord. This is Brennan's message in Johnny's Discord. Once again, Why was this man in, number one, why was he in Johnny Somali's Discord? Number two, why was he posting this in Johnny Somali's Discord? Why was he taking the role of a moderator and telling people what to do? Look at this. Let's read this. Johnny is safe. I took him home. I'm the only one who knows where he is, and it will stay that way. However, Johnny will need to change. I was pissed at Johnny and said some things out of anger, but today needed to happen. He needs to be safe. You guys need to stop posting stupid shit. This chat is monitored and you are going to get Johnny in trouble. By the way, if you knew this chat's monitored, why would you post, I know where he is and it will stay that way? That literally means you're protecting him and you know where he is and you're not going to tell anybody. Right now, my identity was exposed, trying to get people and Johnny to make amends. I don't need clout. This is for the best. And I will say, there is unconfirmed information about Brennan's identity. I really thought about it. In fact, I have the tab pulled up. I don't want to pull it up because once again, I want to be real damn sure that we're looking at the correct thing. And I got my best autist on it, right? But there are people making allegations, once again, not me, other people, making allegations that Brennan was charged with crimes in the U.S. Charged. That does not mean that he was convicted. That does not mean that he was guilty of them. All that means he was charged of crimes, but they're not good. It's not good. And frankly, if people start seeing that, especially people in Korea, it's not going to be a good day.